Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me here at Toronto Police Headquarters. I'm here to introduce the staff inspector in charge of our hold-up squad, Mike Earle, to update us on an important arrest overnight. Inspector, staff inspector.
Thank you, and thank you for attending this press conference. The hold-up squad would like to update you on the escort bandits, the series of robberies that started back on the 25th of October of this year in the west end of Toronto. We had a series of robberies, 5 altogether, 4 in Toronto and 1 in the Region of Peel. The last one being the one that happened yesterday morning at just before 5 a.m. on Carlingview Drive in the Quality Suites. The first robbery occurred on the 25th of October in 2014. The victims in each one of these cases are escorts, sex trade workers that have advertised on Backpage. The MO of these robberies in each case was that a potential client would contact the victims and make an arrangement for a date. The room and hotel would be provided. An individual would knock on the door pretending to be a client. The female victim would open the door and then be rushed by anywhere from 3 to 5 suspects, some being male suspects and including some female suspects. Yesterday morning at 5 a.m., a robbery occurred at Carlingview where the 22-year-old female victim was expecting a client at her door. At that time, when the door was opened, 3 male suspects pushed their way into the room and immediately commenced assaulting her about the head. She was robbed of her belongings, her phone, her clothing, and she was forced naked and forced into sex acts by 2 of the suspects. The suspects fled, and information was gathered by the attending units. Members of the hold-up squad worked with 23 Division at the time, along with Sex Crimes Unit, and we were able to locate the one suspect shortly after 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon in a car on Steeles Avenue, where he was arrested. At the time of his arrest, the male suspect was in company of a female, a 29-year-old female that was turned out to be a victim of one of these robberies that happened at 1 o'clock yesterday morning in a Scarborough hotel. The same situation occurred where the female was advertising on Backpage, a potential client. She's expecting to show up at her room at 1 o'clock in the morning, and 3 males showed up and took control of her in the room, ransacked her room, assaulted her. She did not have enough property, so they confined her, took her with them, and forced them to contact her boyfriend. They made arrangements for a meet on the street for the boyfriend to bring money for her release. A meet was arranged, and the boyfriend did meet the suspects with the victim. The boyfriend was assaulted, his property was removed, and they refused to release the victim. The victim was kept in their custody until the arrest made by the hold-up squad yesterday afternoon at 3 p.m. And as I said before, the robbery had not yet been reported, and the victim was being forcibly confined by these individuals. So right now we have 2 males in custody, a Lenford Richards, who's 20 years of age, who's facing 6 counts of robbery, 6 counts of forcible confinement, weapons dangerous, and 6 counts of failing to comply with probation, along with gang sexual assault. The second male is 22 years of age, Kevin Bagdoria. He's facing 4 counts of robbery, 4 counts of forcible confinement, and weapons dangerous. We have a 17-year-old female youth in custody who's facing 4 counts of robbery and 4 counts of forcible confinement. Our investigators are still working on this case. It's an active investigation. There's 2 males outstanding, a male black, 19 to 25 years of age, and a male white with the same age, 19 to 25 years of age, and a female black, approximately 17 to 21 years of age. These suspects are currently being sought at. If the public has any information on who these suspects could be involved in this case, I encourage them to contact Crime Stoppers or the Toronto Hold-Up Squad at 808-7350. I'm also reaching out to the public, the sex trade workers, and the escort business. Some of these victims may not have complained to the police, and it might be a time that they might want to come forward. They're going to get the full support of the Toronto Police Hold-Up Squad in any investigation. that they have not reported. So I encourage them to contact 808-7350 if they have not yet done so.
So just to clarify, you have 2 men in custody and a female youth, and you're looking for 2 males and a female?
That's correct.
Okay. How many of the 3 people who are in custody were allegedly involved in yesterday's Carlingview incident?
1, and that's Mr. Richards. There's 2 other males that were involved in that robbery have not yet been apprehended.
Okay.
And there were only 3 in yesterday's.
There was only 3, that's correct. Yeah, there was confusion, as you can imagine, at the time of the incident until we actually get the proper statements and review the videotapes. But there was actually 3. It was reported originally as 4. In several of these robberies, the numbers go from anywhere from 3 to 5. And the initial robberies in October, there's 2 males and 2 females in on some of the robberies. So they're not every individual is involved in the robbery, except for Lenford Richards. He was involved in each and every one of these robberies.
Lenford was the second guy you arrested yesterday.
He was the main suspect who was arrested in the car with the female, 29-year-old female victim, and he's the one that's charged with gang sexual assault.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? So he was in the car while you arrested him, and then you happened to figure out that she just happened to be there?
She was in the backseat of the vehicle at the time, yes.
You said she was a victim from, is she the one that was calling her boyfriend to get some money, some extortion there?
That's correct. She was the victim of a robbery that occurred at 1 o'clock in the morning, so approximately 4 hours prior to the last robbery, in a Scarborough hotel, executed in the same manner, except for that she was abducted or forcibly confined and taken with them because she did not have any money with her at that time. And they set up pressured her to contact her boyfriend to bring money for her release. And they took his property and didn't release her. So.
And that was Lenford, the 29-year-old.
That was Lenford.
He was involved in all
Right, and the other 2 suspects that have not been apprehended are also wanted for that robbery.
Okay.
There's a male black and a male white that were involved in that robbery that have not been apprehended.
Do you have a name for them?
No, we do not have a name when we're looking for the public's assistance as to provide any names, addresses for these outstanding suspects. The second male that I mentioned, Mr. Bagiria, he was involved in all of the robberies from the 25th of October to the 7th of December, but did not take part in the robberies that occurred on the 9th of December, which is the 1 o'clock in the morning and the 5 a.m. robbery.
Where did the one that took place at 1 o'clock? What hotel is that at?
It was on Estate Drive in Scarborough.
State Drive is the?
Estate Drive.
Estate. Okay. So if not all of the suspects are involved in all of the cases, is it a case of them copying each other, or are they all?
No, this is one group of people, and Mr. Richards, along with the other male black suspect who has not been apprehended, are the constant in every one of these robberies. In the first 3 robberies, they brought females with them to assist them in their operation, and they also had a Mr. Bagiria along in the first 3 robberies, and then in the second robbery, there's a male white, 19 to 25 years, who has been switched out, who's involved, who we do not know who he is. But the 2 constant individuals is Mr. Richards and the unknown other male black who has not been apprehended, and those are the people that are planning and orchestrating these robberies.
Do they stay at the hotel or they just walk in? The suspects?
No, the suspects aren't staying at the hotel. The suspects are actually pretending to be a client and showing up and meeting the escort, who is working out of a hotel room for her business purpose. And when they show up, they're expecting a client, and these individuals are around the corner, and as soon as the door is breached, they push their way in and commence assaulting the victim.
What can people do to prevent this from happening?
Well, I think the escorts and the female escorts that are working in this line of work need to be very vigilant and proactive when they're opening the door to strange men. They have to know who they're dealing with. They have to know their area and their surroundings and be very vigilant in what they're doing, because it is stranger on stranger when you come right down to it. They don't know who they're meeting. It's all done by social media. So they're very vulnerable at that time when they believe a customer is coming. So, you know, that's another purpose for this media conference, to let the escort workers know that this type of robbery is happening out there, and there is violence, and they need to take precautions to ensure that they are not going to make themselves victims.
And they're happening everywhere then, right? Because the one on Carlingview is in the West End, and then Scarborough's, it's just...
The Scarborough's the only one that's that's different. The rest have all happened in in what I would call the West End of Toronto, the old Etobicoke, and one into Mississauga, which is just west of the 427 highway. So they've mainly been in the West End, and they've been spread over a long period of time. Not to say that others haven't happened and not been reported, and that's my concern, and that's why another reason to put this out to the public. There very well could be victims out there that are just afraid to come forward, or are reluctant to come forward, and this appeal is to them to come forward also.
You mentioned one of them was known to police. Were the others also known to police?
Well, I didn't mention they were known to police, but the individual, Mr. Richards, is known to police. He's been charged with 6 counts that failed to comply with probation. So you know that he's had some troubles with the law already.
That's the one you mentioned.
Yes. Yeah.
The others are known.
Not to my recollection.
Will you be sure to leave the spellings, the number of charges, and all those details?
Yes, that's going to be provided by CorpCom after the media conference. Is there any further questions? Thank you very much for attending.